Hello, I'm David Bianco. Thanks for joining me today. If you've been here before, a subscriber, thank you very much. If it's your first time, let's get going. Today we're going to be talking about a controversial topic that has come up in the last few weeks, especially in the last 5 days, and that is with the announcement of the Steely Dan UHQRs by Acoustic Sound / Analogue Productions. It's the whole idea of, are these costs justified? And what about bringing the price ceiling down on these things? We really thought that was going to happen after the MOFI debacle. That's coming up next here on The Sound of Safe and Sound, Texas. Hello and welcome back. Well, there's a bit of a rant video going out, and I know there's also been other comments going on in the vinyl community about the higher end UHQR records, the whole one-step situation with Mobile Fidelity and the pricing that's there. And I kind of think as a whole, possibly people felt, well, now that the MOFI thing has come out with the digital and people are saying that the pricing was really too high given what has unfolded from them, that there would be a price collapse in the market. And there has been to some degree related to the resale value of some of those things. So the market always has a way of calibrating itself. There's usually a very strong emotional swing early on. Things then tend to settle down. And then once the noise level goes down, it tends to settle into wherever it's going to go. But again, that's the used market. The retail market, I don't think anybody really expected that out of the box, Mobile Fidelity would come down and say, well, now that we've said this, one steps are going to be X less dollars. But maybe that expectation existed. Well, here comes September the 16th and the announcement by Acoustic Sounds and Analogue Productions of the release of the remainder of the Steely Dan catalog on UHQR, 2LP, 45 RPM, Clarity vinyl, and in the usual UHQR box set, kind of like the Hendrix. Okay. There's there's quite a bit more material in this, extra booklets and things like that. The MOFI one step, frankly, you pretty much get a picture, an image of whatever the cover was like, and any inner info, and you get the actual LPs in two separate sleeves, which usually have seam splits, by the way, but I digress. And, that's it. Whereas these usually have, from Acoustic Sounds and Analogue Productions, they usually have extra material with them. So a little more added value. This one kind of hits you because it's a lot of albums. I mean, usually you don't have a release coming out that is this many records in one announcement. And so that's what the situation is. Now, I want to go back in time a bit. The original UHQRs from Mobile Fidelity, okay? This one happens to be Crime of the Century, and I'm going to show you what you got. Just so you know, these were $50 MSRP in the market at a time when regular records were about $7. You get a specification technical manual that tells you about the actual process. In one of my videos, I think it was episode 21, I talked about this. You get a nice protective piece of spongy there. You get the actual LP in a sleeve, and there are no seam splits on this. And they also have another protective layer of cardboard. And then the actual record, it feels like about a 200-gram record is in here. One LP, 33 1/3 RPM. And in that spongy, you get on the back and you get the back. In the front cover, which I didn't show you yet, in the front cover, there is a certificate of authenticity that has a number on it. So you don't know, what number it is until you open it. So, and it's tough to get out, so I wouldn't even bother. So that's what you got for $50. Okay. So if you do a calculation with the CPI, Consumer Price Index, $50 in 83, 84, comes out to $150 in 2022. So voila, it's the same cost. Wow. Okay. Well, oh, but by the way, we're now getting a double LP at 45 RPM, which will sound better. We are getting a higher quality vinyl. JVC Super Vinyl of the 80s it was good at the time, but the Clarity Vinyl today is much better. That's being used at QRP and Analogue Productions for the Steely Dan series and the UHQR series. We get more material inside with the product as well. So, you know, typically when you evaluate the value of something and what you get for your money, you look at it in these terms. So I just wanted to put forth more of a factual-based perspective of this. I had realized that, you know, this is an emotional thing. $150 is a lot of money. It is out of reach of a lot of people. The good news is they're also releasing these through Universal at $30 if you want that version. The differences are, you know, it gets cut to vinyl from digital, even though the original analog Bernie Grundman is used to make that digital. So you have some sort of a potential step down. I'm not sure if it's PCM or DSD that they're using for that. You have the kind of pressing it is. It's on 33 1/3, so it's not going to have the potential for the greater sonics. You have the vinyl, which is going to be whatever quality that pressing plant is using, and at Precision in Canada. And I tend to think the pressing won't be as high a quality generally, which one would expect for 1/5 of the cost, essentially. And so you have choices. And in the market, I think it's great to have choices. Chad also announced that once these are all sold out, the UHQRs are all sold out to their respective quantities, which are 25,000 for Asia, 20,000 for Can't Buy a Thrill, and 15,000 for the other 5 releases. When those are exhausted and sold, then they will be able to make these on the standard 2x45 RPM series that they put out, which is typically, at least right now, about $60. That probably won't come till 2024 or later because they've got to go through the iteration of these releases about every 80 days starting on November the 4th. So that's where we're at. I just feel like it's a decision everybody has to make. I don't think, the industry and even I think the rant even says, yeah, this is a business decision. These guys are making money, which is valid, but it's not egregious. I tend to think the licensing for Steely Dan was probably more than, let's say, a Jethro Tull or maybe even a Jimi Hendrix, because this has been a title series that has been held back for decades to get released, except for Asia coming out on Mobile Fidelity and Cisco. So there's a lot of anticipation. I can honestly say, I think one of my favorite albums, period, is Can't Buy a Thrill. And I love that album, and I have a lot of copies of it, and from various pressings and countries and things. And I couldn't wait until this came out because it's a really rich recording, in my opinion. Now, for people to get on the rants and say, I hate Steely Dan, I don't care, it's like, okay, that's fine. That's not contextual to me. So the context here to me is that we are, in fact, talking about, do you want to spend the money? Is it worth it? And what's the value? What I'm trying to say is, dollar for dollar, looking at inflation and looking at everything, this is, in fact, not nearly as bad a financial situation in terms of the value you get for the money compared to the original UHQRs that came out. Doesn't mean you should buy it, doesn't mean you should love it, doesn't mean you should even agree with it. But it does mean in context that that's where it's at. So, as always, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. If you like what you have seen, please subscribe and press that bell for notifications. Like the video with a thumbs up if you would, and comments are always welcome. So for now, I'm going to say thank you for joining me today, and I'll be seeing you soon again at the sound of Safe and Sound, Texas. Take care, everybody.